And we are live again. It's like these calls keep coming in. Christy's on the line. We have a special guest. We're not going to reveal the name due to certain circumstances, but what is it called? Reflection Ministries is on the hot seat tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We just spoke to Naomi. We spoke to another person a couple days back, or yesterday, I believe. Right, Christy? When was it? Either way, here is another person. Christy, you already have a lot of people that are getting a hold of you left and right, correct?
Oh my goodness, we could probably do multiple interviews every day for the next 3 weeks with all the people that are reaching out. And I love it because after the first person came out, everybody else started finding their voice also. And I consider these like the bravest and strongest
Yep.
women to talk about this stuff.
Okay. And here's the next one up, and we're not going to release her name. She told us, and I'll just leave this pretty vague. She's has gone through some very traumatic experiences throughout her life, and she's someone that I would think would need some kind of help if someone's looking for it from a place like reflection. But I think a place like that is somewhere where people need to stay far from. Ma'am, are you on the line there?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to give just a quick introduction as to who you are, I know you're holding your identity back, but go ahead and speak about what you can about yourself and your background a little bit if you want to.
I'm a native of Permian Basin, and um, I went to Reflections in late 2022 through early 2023.
Was it
At first, I
was it
went
voluntary?
willing.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're gonna go
Yes,
ahead.
it
Sorry.
was. It was. I had just thought to myself, I was so traumatized. My family didn't know how to help me. And so I was referred to Reflections through Permeacare. And so I looked into it and I called, and within 2 days, a gentleman and a lady that work there. The gentleman, he actually worked through Permacare, and the other lady, Trish, which I know she's already been mentioned, she came and got me from my house, and we went to Reflections. And by the way, I don't want to bash her name. She's an amazing woman. But once I got there and everything got set up, it kind of felt like a captivity all over again. I was only allowed to stay in house number one because there's five out at the village. There's five cottages. And house number one is the house where you're under 24/7 surveillance. It's where all the new women come in, and you have a nurse's aide. I don't know if they're a nurse or not, but they stay with you morning and night. And they administer your medicine. They, you know, like you have to cook for yourself. But in that first house was so traumatizing in itself. There was 4 to 5 other women in there with me. One had been, bless her heart, she had been sent to Florida not long before I arrived and to receive shock therapy, and Reflections is the one that sent her to Florida.
For shock,
And when
for
she came
shock,
back,
for let me just make a point. For shock therapy, correct?
yes, that's what she said, and that because she was too aggressive. And so they had her on Valium. And then there was another girl that came in, and she was very childlike. She wasn't a child, but her demeanor, her, just she was very childlike. She slept in the bathtub because she, I guess, didn't feel comfortable in the bed, which comes with trafficking. You get used to those horrible places and normal places to y'all. People just go and they lay in their bed every night and they snuggle up with their pillow, and it's not like that for trafficking survivors or victims. And so I could relate to their pain. And I wanted to call my family, and because that was a big thing. was being able to talk to my family, because I already had support from my family. I just needed the experience and the resources to get emotional and mental help after all of that. And no therapist ever came in. It was like straight as soon as you came out of house or cottage number one, there was a second cottage that they called like the meeting cottage, which you could go upstairs and paint and draw or cook in the kitchen or watch TV. But there was never enough staff to have that house open. And if any of us wanted to go paint because, it's therapeutic, or write or read or whatever it was, they wouldn't allow us. Eventually I moved to house number 3, and there was me and one other girl that lived in that house. And I just remember, I came from, I haven't cooked or did a load of laundry in years. I didn't know how to take care of myself. And it was hard. And then they wanted to, so once you hit house number 3, you were allowed to go to school, which is on the northeast side of Midland. And it was fake. It was just, you have your basic math and you have your basic English, and then you have, they would take you into a separate room to do like a social studies or history, but they really pushed on Muslim religion, like to learn how to read I don't know if it's the Torah or the Quran or
Quran.
whichever it was. Yes, but I was so against it because I'm Christian, and I'm just like, well, why are we so, worried about Muslim,
Yeah.
religion?
Yeah, especially living in America. Why would you want to learn about that? Especially if you're a Christian.
Right. So that was, well, and that was kind of a red flag for me, because they had talked about being Christian based. And so I remember very just vividly, there was a day that we were all in class, and there was this room, and it had like a big whiteboard, and it had, the long white tables and chairs. And up at the front, they had a podium. And they said, okay, well, we're going to do an exercise. And what we need you to do is we're going to blindfold you, and we're going to bring you to the front of the room. And I remember I was first in line, and they said, without making a sound, we need you to gather the other girls and bring them to safety. And I'm thinking, what in the world? And so, because, being able to see everything and always keeping a watch out in my head, just on a swivel, I realized that 2 feet from my left side was the wall, 2 feet in front of me was the podium, and then the girl standing next to me. And I thought, well, how am I going to help them if I can't say anything? And so I just felt for the wall, and I stepped closer to the girl, and then I grabbed her hand and I whistled and I squeezed her hand. And I don't know if she just grabbed onto the next girls that were next to her. And then whenever we took off our blindfolds, we were all standing in a line holding each other's hand. And I just thought to myself, like, why would we have to do that? And also learning about Muslims, so to me, it started.
Real quick, and I just want to say this: just kind of be careful. I don't know if you be anything kind of somewhat vulgar or something. Just be careful. We are streaming on these platforms, so I don't know if I know there's some weird things that goes on with that stuff. Just if you can, just be kind of careful with certain things that you
Okay,
might have
I'm
to
sorry,
say. You know
and
what I mean? No, it's not fine.
Right, and
I understand.
I'm not prejudiced by any means.
No,
So I
it's not
hope
a
I
big
don't
deal.
offend anybody.
No, it's not a big
I'm
deal.
just speaking my truth.
We're
Okay.
Christians, not a big deal. Go ahead. I just want to say that, disclaim that before Facebook or YouTube acts crazy. But go ahead.
So sorry. So there was other things, there was several times like I tried to call my mom, and I was like, I just need to talk to my family. And they're like, oh, well, you can't call them. And once it got to the point to where I was in house number 3 and I was alone by myself a lot. And, they would come and get us, and they would take us every day to school. And I was just like, this is not what I need right now. I need I need love and support. I need a soft place to land. I didn't feel safe, and I felt trapped. And so then it was like, oh, well, school will help keep this off your mind and everything else. And if you wanted to try to go in and talk to somebody about, hey, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way, oh, well, you need to get back to class. These grades didn't account for anything. And looking back now, I wouldn't have been as strong as I am today to stand up and say something.
Okay.
And whenever this hit the other day, I just thought, you know what? God is doing God's work. He is finally bringing light to whatever's going on, because I can't sit there and tell you I know Lisa Bounds well. I met with her in the kitchen while we were making cookies, and all I know is she was very particular that her cookies had to be absolutely perfect for packaging. And it didn't feel like a fun time to be around other people to, go out and serve your community. It felt like, well, this is what she needs done, so this is what we have to do. And then just it finally got to the point whenever I realized that, college, because I had asked him about college, and I said, well, how am I supposed to be able to take college classes if we can't leave? And then the subject would get changed. That never got addressed. And so then I started seeing holes in their stories or in their promises. And the more that I saw that, the more that I felt like I've got to go. I've got to get out of here. And so I went to my caseworker at the time. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but I told her, I was like, I want to go home. And she was like, well, if you leave, you'll never be able to get any type of help. You can't come back here. You'll go to jail, like implementing all this fear. And I had to go and sit in front of like 4 or 5. I guess they were the higher ups. I don't really know. I was just in this room, and it was like an hour and a half, and I had to beg and plead and prove my case and all of this and why I wanted to go home. And so, after getting back home, they finally let me go. And the lady that came and got me went and dropped me off. And I was scared because
What
I'm
did
like,
they
well,
say you were going to go? What did they say you were going to go to jail for? Like, why were they using such hard scare tactics?
I really don't know, because I felt like in my trafficker, one of them, was into a lot of bad things. And so he had me scared as well that I was going to go to prison and all of these things. And so they kind of just fed into the same story that he had. And it was just like, well, what could I go to jail for? Like, I didn't understand. And then
And
once
that you
I
would
got
never be able to get help again or anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
I got
and
to
so
interject. Okay, let me just interject real quick because it's weird. Two things that you already said that the other victim said was the fake school. So you said it was a fake
Mm-hmm.
school. The first victim said it was a fake
mm-hmm,
school, and I think the second one did
yeah,
too. But then you also said what the first victim said is that, well, many people are saying they watched this, that basically it's like you left one abductor to another abductor. But you said what this person said was basically that they told the first person that took you against your will. I want to watch out with certain words. You came from a very bad situation where you're trafficked, right? Where they took you from against your
mm-hmm,
own will, and he or this person or whoever it was threatened you with law enforcement, right? And that you're going to get in trouble if you left them. And then I want to parallel that with what you said about Reflection Ministries. They basically
Mm-hmm.
said the same thing, correct? Because what I want to do is
yes,
correlate that in a way that the first victim said the same thing from the school to now what you
mm-hmm,
just said. That basically they're the person that held them captive the first time used the same tricks and same wording that Reflection Ministries used on them. So you're saying that happened
Yeah.
to you too, correct?
yes, and the other girls that were there, because I remember the day that I had just broke down and we were at the school, and a lot of the girls, we would talk. and they'd be like, well, I want to leave. And then some girls, didn't even know what was going on around them. And then other girls would be like, well, my family is far away and they've been trying to get home. And they said, okay, well, if you want to leave, all we're going to do is take you to the Salvation Army, and you're better, then you got to figure it out there. And I got upset, and I'm like, why wouldn't you buy her a bus ticket home? Like, why wouldn't you contact her family and say, hey, she's ready to come home. Can we meet you, or can we fly her there? Or, it
I,
was just weird
I would just
that
say,
they would just take you and dump you somewhere.
it's funny you say that, because the other person said the same thing. They took them to the Salvation
Yep.
Army and they gave them
Yep.
no other options. Well, they wanted to take them to another nonprofit in Abilene, I guess, just to move her around. But you're right. This place has made over $9 million so far. Why couldn't they get you in contact with your family, bus ride, something? I mean, a couple dollars. They already got a lot of money. They just want to go drop you off at the Salvation Army like you never existed. But while you're with them there, you're helping them make money and making them look good and let them go take a picture with Chief Snow and all these big wigs. But once you don't want nothing to do with them, they just want to throw you with everybody else that's homeless out here in the South Side at the Salvation Army. That's very alarming, because the other person said the same thing. Go ahead.
And there was another instance where it was around Christmas, and, downtown Midland, they have the big tree every year.
And the
And
lights.
there was, yes. And so we were all supposed to dress up and go take pictures in front of this tree. And I remember telling one of the ladies, like, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, I don't want my face to be broadcasted. We're supposed to be hidden. We're supposed to be safe. So why are you taking pictures to show all of us survivors and put us on blast? Like, it didn't make sense to me.
That's a good point.
And we couldn't get out of not taking the picture. Like, we had to take the picture.
Wow.
And so to me, like, looking back, I'm thinking to myself, like, to me, it's a front. I want us to look good. We have all these wonderful things, how we're going to help them. That is not what it's like once you walk through those gates. Once you walk through those gates, you are shamed. You are looked down upon. You are trashed. No law enforcement stepped in to say, hey, let me talk to you about, like, there was no connection to law enforcement to be like, hey, tell me what you've gone through. Let's start an investigation. There was no counselor to step in. There was no counselor to step in and say, hey, we know that you've been through a hard time. Let's get you some therapy, or, a diagnostician to come in and say, hey, you're suffering from PTSD, or any of the things. There is much connection as that place has. We didn't have access to any of it. None of it.
So were you on medication whenever you went into Reflections?
Yes, because I had
Okay.
went through. Yes, I had went through permacare to get my medications, and then I was referred. That's how I knew about Reflections, and I called.
Permacare recommended them, correct?
Yes,
So it's kind of weird, because first they said Breaking Bread. Shout out Buddy Webb. God bless Buddy Webb. We need to get him on the podcast pretty soon. That's a great patriot, great citizen of Midland. But we also need to read his comment in a minute. But anyways, Breaking Bread basically took this other girl off the street and sent her to Reflection. You're saying Permacare basically funneled you that way too. So it's like this woman is connected, and she has all these other nonprofits. It's a web, y'all. Especially the money, the donations. We're digging into this. It's really the tip of the iceberg here. But these different organizations, nonprofits, whatever they are sending people to places like Reflection Ministries, and then Reflection Ministries has a grasp on your life. I think this is very odd, and I'm glad you brought this up, because it's weird, in my opinion, that other nonprofits are sending you to this nonprofit, which maybe in a perfect world, a good world, it's not a big deal. But it's kind of weird that this place is had their main people arrested by Homeland Security for kidnapping, that they are being sent everybody that's basically a victim of some sort. I think that's very odd and alarming, and we should be looking at all these nonprofits with the magnifying glass. Now, before I hand it back to you, I'm going to ask you this. Whenever they gave you medication there, we heard someone else say they wore a white lab coat. Did you know they were a physician or a doctor?
No, they were just the women that would come in and sit in house one. They would stay, like, they would change off shifts, 12-hour shifts. So there'd be one lady in the day and then another lady at night. And they were just normal, everyday people. I don't know about their certifications or anything because another lady works somewhere else. Um, I don't know where they came from, to be honest with you. But that would be a good thing to investigate because the older gentleman that I had referred me to Reflections from Permacare, not long after I got into Permacare, he moved to work for Reflections. So I kind of followed with him from Permacare to Reflections. I
And
don't know if he's still there, but I'm pretty sure they can
okay,
investigate. But, you know, I'm going back to 2022, early 2023. So if this is just happening recently, like they got to go far back. Like they got to go far back and just see where it takes them because I truly believe that there's a lot of people that say they're going to help in this situation, and you can go to these people and nothing gets done. Nothing. And to me, it's like for a woman to be able to stand up and have the courage to say something, it takes a lot because you are in fear for your life. You're in fear for your life because either it's the people that hurt you before can find you again, or if it's because there's a community with lots of money and power. And whenever you add a combination of those things, like the sky's the limit. And once you have either sold a child or you have sold a woman, there's I don't think there's anything else worse than that. Like it's just it's inhumane. It is
I got a question.
inhumane.
It is inhumane, and understand why you're getting upset. Did they increase or change any of your medications, or did your
or
medications stay
double.
the same? Because yeah,
Honestly, I don't remember. I know that by the time I got out of school and we got back to the village, and I just wanted to go to sleep. Um, and so I would take my medicine at like, I guess 6 o'clock, and I would go shower and go to bed and then wake up. I mean, there were some days I didn't even eat just because I was too tired. I was overstimulated throughout the day with everything else going on. And that's another thing whenever I'm talking about mental health. You can't just say, oh, okay, well, you've been here for 2 weeks, so we're going to move you to a new house. No, you've got to really take in, and they should have, like I said, with law enforcement, also, they should have had medical professionals come in there and do their job
Wow.
instead of just shipping them off whenever they thought, oh, they're too aggressive. Okay, well, look what she's been through. And if you feel trapped, your instinct as a human being is self-preservation. I don't care
absolutely.
what human says that I would do that. Okay, no, it's going to happen. It's going to kick in. And so, in a lot of cases, if these women weren't heard, if they weren't understood, if they weren't getting the help that they needed, they're cut off from their families, and they're being medicated to where they don't even know what's going on. And of course, I would be mad. It's I don't feel like it's okay to send somebody, especially young girls, that I don't know how old they are, but without family consent, all the way across the United States for mental shock treatment, and to come back, and then none of the girls had contacts with their family. And
So
once I got home, my mom, I said, because I cried and I cried, and they finally, said, okay, well, we'll just let you leave after like 2 hours of interrogation on why I wanted to go. But my mom was like, I tried calling you, and every time I called you, they said, oh, she doesn't want to talk. It wouldn't be good to talk to her.
Wow.
You don't need to talk her out of leave, or you don't need to talk her out of staying here because this is the best place for her. And my mom finally said, if my baby girl wants to come home, she can come home. And I think that was the final straw for them. Like
Did,
they knew that mama bear
was
stepped
it
up, and
playing?
I'm thankful my
Yeah.
mom Yes.
I
And
got
they
to, well, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to interject, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, so what I want to say is this: are these places not regulated by the state? How does this woman, the mayor in 2020, I forgot the exact year, I don't want to misquote it, but she was given the mayor, a temporary mayor of the day award. She's made over $9 million. She took a picture, her and Elizabeth Walker. They both were arrested for kidnapping by Homeland Security. She took a picture I'll put up in a minute with Chief Snow from the Midland Police Department. Like, I'm saying, how does this woman get all this money, know how to speak with all these elite people, and run some kind of a care for victims, yet she's doing all these things behind closed doors? And to me, it sounds like a janky little five-star prison.
Do you want to know
I'm
what?
just saying, Christy, I'm just saying, why is there no government oversight? This is a nonprofit.
Do you
Okay,
want to know why?
hold on. This is a nonprofit. She's running a
There's a third
nonprofit,
you're trying to
not a
say.
hospital.
Yeah.
It's not a hospital. It's not nothing else. But she's running a nonprofit, holding people against their will, sending them to get shock therapy, stealing people's babies. We had another victim that stated this, and no one's paying attention. No one's even looking at her. It takes the Dallas PD and Homeland Security, God bless them, to arrest her and her COO for kidnapping charges. Other victims went to the Midland Police Department. We already have it documented. The MPD did nothing. Nobody's been held accountable. The Midland Police Department is worthless. God bless the Dallas Police Department, because I believe that's who got the ball rolling. It's crazy that this woman had so much money, power, and influence that she was running a basic nonprofit and is doing it however the hell she wants to run it. This is disgusting, and this is very alarming, and I'm pretty sure she ain't the only person in Midland or in the country that runs a nonprofit in such a manner. This is disgusting. Go ahead, Christy.
No, whenever you said all that, you ended up answering the question that I was going to say. How does she get away with all of it? Simple, 501c3. And, and whenever you start bringing in that kind of money, the higher ups in Midland are like, oh, she's got to be a good person. And, I don't know.
Yeah, and Brian just said her defenders are pretty much resorting to slandering you, Nino. They're making posts about me. They're saying all these things about me, but I'm the one that's doing for the victims. They're doing for the person that was arrested for kidnapping. Say whatever you want about me, but you know what? I stand for the victim while they stand for the person that was doing this to the victim. They stand for the person that was arrested for kidnapping. Ma'am, let me ask you.
And
Go ahead.
Yes.
I got one more thing to say. I don't give a damn who is slandering us. We are not stopping.
We ain't gonna stop.
So take that,
Amen.
take that, and put it in your pipe and smoke
And you know what? My wife even said, Nino, she goes, babe, I think they're gonna probably find her not guilty because she speaks so well. She's connected to the police, to the mayor, to everybody. She even donated to Mayor Blanc. She's on Mayor Blanc. Her and her husband, the president of Foss Bank, they are on Mayor Blanc's website right now. Their names listed, okay, as a good prominent family of Midland. My wife thinks that she won't get held accountable because she has a good mouthpiece and she's so well connected. But you know what I said? I said, I don't give a flip if they drop these charges. I done heard from the victims, and I trust what the victims said. They want to come and sue me, whatever they want to do. I don't care. I'm not afraid of this woman. I'm not afraid of Elizabeth Walker. I ain't afraid of the city of Midland, the mayor, or the Midland Police Department. I'm not afraid of none of them. Ma'am, I want to ask you a question. From what you saw, you are a victim yourself, a real one. You told us your story. We don't even never want to tell that publicly due to the safety, your safety. But you go to this place, and what are your overall thoughts now, looking back at it? From 5-6 years ago, whenever you were there, do you agree with what I said, that they had no oversight whatsoever, and they're doing things that are really absurd and sounds basically like borderline kidnapping and holding someone against their will? I guess holding someone hostage. What do you think about their overall system they had? In your opinion?
It's broken. It is not what they portray it to be. It's been several years now. I'm at a different place in my recovery. I'm at a different place as a survivor. And looking back, they are not equipped by any means to handle what's coming through those doors. And then having men on your staff, that's another big thing.
Wow.
Men have hurt us and women too, but mostly men. And so you don't want to walk into a place that you're supposed to feel safe, which there was never a man at the village, but at the school there was. And so it's just, to be honest with you, they're not equipped and they're not fulfilling what society around here thinks that they're doing. That's not what's happening. I can't sit there and say, oh, she's doing, the kidnapping, she's doing the trafficking. I can just tell you that while I was there, there was so many signs and so many familiar feelings of being trafficked, that's not what a recovery place is supposed to feel like.
So would you say that it's
So
you just said it, but would you say it's more along the lines of someone holding you hostage instead of a place that's supposed to give you help?
Yes. And for whatever reason, may it be money, I don't know if they get paid per head that walks in there from whoever, or if you have to stay a certain amount of time before they get paid. I think I think the investigation needs to go a whole lot deeper into where these girls are coming from. If there's a select pick, because, and I know this is going to sound very strange, but every girl that I was in there with had green or blue eyes. I don't know if it was
Hold
a
on.
coincidence.
Hold on. You're stating they all had, oh my goodness, Christy. I don't know. I'm a conspiratorial person at heart. Me and Christy are. We like to keep it factual at all times. You said they all had green and blue eyes when you were there.
Yes.
Did y'all all look around and look at each other and be like, oh, damn, your eyes are like mine? Let's talk about that real quick.
The girl that had came in after me, she was pregnant, and she was actually picked up off the streets of Midland. And
Hold
she
on.
was very scared.
Hold on. What was her name? Naomi.
I don't remember.
We just spoke.
I don't remember her name.
Okay, let me just say this. We just spoke to one before you spoke to us. A woman, Naomi, pregnant, picked up off the streets of Midland, breaking bread. Saw her, another nonprofit, grabbed her. Hours she spent at breaking bread, and then they called Lisa, and she went and picked her up, and she was pregnant. And I believe she's kind of a light skinned, a woman from the Facebook profile. But I digress. What did you notice about this other girl? We don't know if it's her, but go ahead.
She had just said that the pimps that had her,
Oh,
I
okay.
guess, went to
It
jail.
wasn't her. It wasn't her then. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. And that they had just came and got her. She didn't even say who came and got her off the streets of Midland, but she didn't want to be there because it was in Midland. And she didn't feel safe, but she would sit by herself outside and she would just rock and she would cry and cry and cry. And she'd be like, my baby, I don't know what's going to happen to my baby. And she was a little on the chunkier side. She had pretty olive skin and big, big green eyes, like light colored green eyes. And she just kept talking about like how she didn't know how she was going to have her baby, and she didn't have any support in her upper area. So I gave her one of my tank tops and I was just like, here, take this. And then I had other clothes. That was another thing there too. Speaking of clothing, they were supposed to set up like this clothing store inside of the school, and you could go in there and get whatever you needed. That was not the case. People would come in there and they would be in the same clothes that they came off the streets on. And the school, or like the clothing store inside the school, was always shut down. It was hard. I asked weeks to get panties. But this girl,
we heard that people were begging for hygiene products.
yeah, because they kept everything locked inside of house number 1. So like, on the other side of the dining area was like a locked closet door, and that's where they had your hygiene or medicine, laundry. The washer and dryer was in there, and the aides that stayed during the day or during the night, they were the one that had the key to it. So if you wanted any of that, you would have to ask them, hey, like, can I have this? Can I have that? But you were very limited on what you could have.
Okay, and I want to kind of go back to with the eyes. You're talking about that girl with the eyes. Let's go back to that real quick. You said she had big green eyes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember
Go ahead.
I remember sitting at the dining room table with her, and she came in, and I just, I always think, well, tell them, like something positive about themselves. And I looked at her, I was like, you have such pretty eyes. And she just started crying. She's like, don't tell me that. And she lost it. She broke down and it hit me. And I'm like, okay, I heard about this. I've seen it in trafficking. They go after certain eye color, certain hair color. You know, I was told I would be valuable in a different region. I can't say, but because of the way that I look. And
Who told you this? Who told you this?
traffickers,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
that I would be royalty in different regions. And so I didn't even think to myself, I'm like, oh no, like that's probably what her pimp, that was her selling point. That's probably what he used
Okay.
for
Okay.
her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know for sure, but I just know she was scared about her baby and she was scared to be there. And then I left before she left. So I
And,
don't ever know what happened.
okay, but and who else had those color eyes there?
There was the girl that went to Florida. They were a light hazel brown, like a light brown. Um, and then there was another Caucasian girl, and she had blue eyes. I think there was only one girl that was the one that came in that stayed in the bathtub a lot. She was the only one that had darker brown eyes, but for the most part, we all had light colored eyes.
And do you think that was just because y'all are all victims, or because Reflection Ministries sought after that
I honestly
characteristic?
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I can just tell you, in the trafficking world, there are certain qualities that they look for because it's a higher selling point.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, and that's, so I can't say that yes, Reflections does that. I don't know at all. All I can tell you is the facts about my stay there and what I went through and the things that I saw that just did not feel right.
Okay. I have another question. People keep talking about it was a 5-star prison. It was cult like. Did you get any of those feelings being there?
Yeah, because everything was locked up. Like, you couldn't just go, like, you could go out into the middle courtyard and either swing or sit on the chairs around the fire pits, but you couldn't like start a fire at night just to relax. You couldn't. There was a basketball goal, but no basketballs. There was a punching bag, but you know, like there was
No gloves. Yeah.
yeah, right. And then the house number 2 that had like all of the creative stuff in there, or the TV that you could all gather around, nothing was ever open for the girls just to go as they pleased. It had to be, you had to be escorted by an aide that was there. After a certain hour at nighttime, you couldn't go outside. And then first thing in the morning before dawn, you were on your way to school. So you really didn't have any time to just sit and process or heal or do anything that would just, it was just on lockdown. Like, I don't know how else to explain it.
So the girls that were not in school, we had a caller, an interview, and I think it was our first one, that at 7:50 a.m. she would get locked out of the house and be required to do chores outside till like 5 p.m. Did you know about any of that or anything? Did you see that?
I didn't. I do know that we never did chores because they had a man that would come out there, I guess, at certain times while we were at school. I don't know, the groundskeeper. Um, but I do know that if you were in house 1, that you didn't go to school until you transitioned over to house 2 and or 3 or 4. And the girls that were in house 1, they didn't actually come outside. They either stayed in their bedrooms or they stayed in the living room, or they would have them cooking all the time, even if they weren't making food. And a lot of the girls would just cook and then they wouldn't eat. So it wasn't a very, it wasn't it didn't make any sense.
I got a question. Somebody right here has a great point. Says, what is the completion rate on this program? Why is this not looked at when funding is coming in? The people donating money, why are they not wanting proof or testimony of the program working? This program is horrible. Can you touch on that?
As far as the completion rate, I don't know. I know
I mean, is there a plan? Is there a plan? Do they have a plan of action? I mean, is there a goal? I mean, I'm stating, I feel like the person that just commented is saying what I'm thinking. Like, they get all this money, right? And what do the people there get from this? What is the actual goal in the end? Did they ever tell you that? Did you ever feel like you were reaching a goal? Did you ever have any goals?
what they would tell you whenever, like, or whenever I first got there, is that what they were going to do is that they were going to do like an evaluation in house one. And I guess because you're on 24-hour surveillance. And then once you progress to house two, they were going to take you to school. And what you could do is take these classes, which was just math and English. And you could do these tests, and you had homework to do, and you had to read a book, and then you could test on it. And supposedly these grades were supposed to go towards either getting your GED, or they were to go towards your ASVAB, or, you know, whatever it is for college, FAFSA.
Oh.
But there was one girl that was doing quote unquote college courses, but she said that she wasn't getting any credits for it, and she kept asking for help, and she finally got frustrated. She quit going because she was not getting anywhere. She was doing all this work for nothing.
Wow.
And she lived in house 3, and then in house 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, in house 4 there was another girl there, and her story was different than the rest of ours. She was actually to the point to where she was working at a little shop in downtown Midland, and she would get picked up from the village by a coworker, or not a coworker from the coffee shop, but from a worker from Reflections, and she would take her to work and then bring her back. And I don't know how her money situation went. I don't know like what all she had to do to get to that point at Reflections. I just know her backstory was she was caught up in a sting, and she went there because she was in a different trafficking situation than a normal, I guess you would say. But so I don't know like how you progress out of that. I don't know what the end goal was, but our goals weren't really focused on. It was more just do this, just do this math, do this English. It was kind of like they were trying to keep you, I guess, entertained or focused on something else. And like you didn't have access to any of your personal stuff.
Social
I know
media?
that there was. No, we didn't. We weren't allowed to have phones. Like we couldn't even call from the office. Like we couldn't even call from the office to talk to our family.
I have another.
So we didn't have.
I'm sorry, but I have another question. So, but you're saying there was no phones on the premises, right? Which I think we've all figured that out. No phones at all.
It was only the aides that were there that were allowed to have their phones,
Wow.
but we couldn't use them.
Let me ask you another question. The Lone Star / food stamps. They said that they would have to put their food stamps together and buy from a store. You know about that?
I know that they, like with my experience, they did get me on food stamps, but I didn't have access to my card. I
Yeah.
didn't even know how much I got.
Oh.
At the beginning, one of the ladies who I mentioned earlier, she would get on HEB and do us a grocery order. But like if we forgot something, or we would have to wait a whole week before we could make another order. So we had to make sure to get everything that we were going to need for the week. And it just wasn't right, because then some girls would run out of food, and then we'd have to share, or it was just kind of or if we wanted to say, hey, like we ran out of milk, we need another gallon of milk. Well, we would have to wait a whole nother week until they had the time to do our grocery order.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, I don't know if Homeland Security's got a hold of you. I think you said that you'd like to talk to Homeland Security. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you want to state kind of why, but we can just leave it vague for now. Let me ask you this: when you found out that this woman got arrested and Elizabeth Walker got arrested as well, how did you feel?
Honestly, my first thought was shock, but then it was just like good, because I can't say anything about the kidnapping, and I don't know anything about that. But the weird stuff that I've explained to you, the red flags, you know, I wouldn't doubt it, to be honest with you. Something else is going on behind those gates that is not, it's not okay.
Absolutely,
can't-
because
I
it's
can't-
complete. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't sit there and say, yes, I've seen her do this, or yes, I've seen her do that, but I can just tell you from the facts of my experience that it needs to be investigated further, like deeper, like every route you can take to think, okay, where are these girls coming from? Where's the money coming from? Where are they going after they leave here? Why are there such strict laws on not being able to communicate with family members? Why can't you leave if your family wants to come and take you for lunch, or and I know that the village was so secret place, nobody knew about it. So I could understand people not being able to go out there to pick you up. I mean, I get that. But at the same time, it's like you would think that you would want to have, if these people have family, then you would want them to be involved with their family. You would want them to have that support system. So whenever they do go home, they can say, okay, this is the goals that I've set. This is the goals that I've met. This is where I'm at. But they told me that I had to be there for 4 years. I was in a 4-year program.
What?
I
With
didn't
no
sign
goals,
up for-
with no end goal.
And I'm just like, what do you mean a 4-year? Like, I'm not staying here for 4 years. And that's one of the things that caused me to panic, because I'm like, this is not where I need to be.
I got a question.
I need my family.
I got a question. You said that they need to be investigated. I say open the books. Well, I mean, we're paying for this. This is nonprofit. This is taxpayer funded. We need to see the books. I'm going to ask you a question, though. The last person said that, the way everything that you're saying, in my opinion, correlates with what she said, but she was given heavy doses of medication. She had her baby. Lisa tried to take the baby. This is what she got arrested for, kidnapping as well. There's more than one baby being that she tried to kidnap, from what I'm hearing. Do you think that from what you saw there, that there could be something more nefarious happening there, like her taking somebody's child with the woman being secluded in building 1 or any building, and no phone to the outside world? They got a doctor there giving them prescriptions and whatever. Do you think that this is actually possible, that this could be somewhere where this woman is taking people's children or babies?
To be honest, I'm not sure about the babies, but I am questioning trafficking. I'm questioning because you're cut off from your family. I'm questioning that, you're being sent across so many states to have shock therapy. Did she consent to that? Did she understand what was going to happen to her when she left? And
Exactly.
then keeping her over Valium, really Valium. That's a heavy duty.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
she was sweet. She was kind and sweet. I just don't. There's just so many red flags, and I can't say for sure. I can't really answer your question truthfully because I don't have the facts.
And there are so many illegalities happening anyway. Number one, them keeping food stamp cards. Y'all are above age. You're not court ordered there. You're not any of that. You can't leave the property. You're stuck in whatever program they say that you're in.
They dump you.
keep your
They
ID,
dump you at the Salvation
your birth.
Army. They dump
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Well, and then too, they would take us to the library. I remember there was a brand new library built. I guess it was, I don't know Midland that well.
On the
I guess
loop.
south into Midland.
Yes.
And they would take us in there to get books. But even then, we were very limited on what we could read or could check out or how long we could be there. We weren't able to associate with anybody else. So even the times that we did get out, it's like we were still just stuck in this little group. You know,
Because some of the witnesses that we've talked to, or the victims that we have talked to, said that they were never even allowed to leave, that under any circumstances, and that a couple of girls jumped a fence, and Lisa claimed that a girl there knew about it and put her on punishment. She wasn't allowed to even speak to another resident there. She wasn't allowed to have any communication with anybody. And so, yeah, I think that it was kind of whatever Lisa wanted when she wanted it, is how the rules worked.
yeah, because I don't know. Like I said, the only time I came into contact with Lisa was in the kitchen that day. And it didn't matter if us girls were saying like, okay, we want to go, we don't want to be here. She had to have her cookies made. And it was, you could kind of tell like by how she was that this is what was important. Her cookies being made to pass out to all of her sponsors and all of the things. And they had to be cooked to the certain perfection of softness. And
Wow.
so she's very particular and very just, it wasn't about, hey, us girls have been through a lot and now you're just putting us to work and like we don't want to be here. We want to be in a safe place, and there's just a lot of things that I really think that need to be looked into. And if they do have all of these, breaking the law with these, food stamps or whatever's going on, it's like, are our identities in jeopardy?
Oh,
Are we in jeopardy? Do we have is there a target on our heads because we've been through this before, so we're subjected to it? Is if it is about money and trafficking, are we ever going to feel safe?
The only thing that brings me a little bit of hope is at least Homeland Security got involved, and
Yes.
that you're not relying on MPD
Yeah.
to do anything with this investigation.
Right, because I called 2 days ago or 3 days, well, whenever it came on the news, and I thought, you know what? I probably need to tell what happened while I was there. Like maybe it can help, maybe it won't, but I feel like it's just never come up before. And so I called the DA's office in Midland, and I said, hey, I need to speak to whoever is looking over the Lisa Bounds case for reflections. I said, I have some information that might be helpful. And she was like, well, you're going to have to call the police station and file a report.
Wow.
And I said,
The DA.
okay.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to call just, a local officer and be like, hey, like, I
Well,
hate to say this, but it's scary. All I'm saying, it's scary.
Well, I'm going to say this. We went to the police before and we walked in there and they already know who I am and they leaked my info to other people from right there at the desk. So I don't blame you for not trusting the Midland Police Department, because people that work there in the front, they're not professional. And they are not someone to be trusted with any kind of information, especially in regards to this. I will tell you what you should do is get a hold of the FBI in Midland. Christy will give you the information here momentarily. I have an officer that I work with directly. We can send emails or even call or go in person. And I would rather trust the FBI in Midland. They're downtown in Midland. They have a building, and they've been pretty good with me when I've gotten threats and gotten certain situations where I need to reach out to them. I would rather trust the FBI in Midland. And if I were you, I would go directly to them. I would bypass the Midland Police Department because, in my opinion, they are corrupt. The Midland Police Department is corrupt. Chief Snow is corrupt. So is Chatwell. He's a corrupt. Anyways, he's corrupt, and I would not recommend going to them at all. If you can, go to the FBI building. So, winding down, let's. I just want to ask you this: your final words for everybody watching on this video. The floor is yours. You say whatever you want. We thank you for your testimony. We got your back. Christy has your number, and we're going to keep exposing this person and this nonprofit. What would you like to say, everybody watching now and on the repeat? Go ahead.
I want to say first of all, I've got to give God the glory, because if it wasn't for him, none of this would be happening. And
Amen.
I want to say that all of the girls that are reading or you're listening and it's hitting home with you and you're scared to press that call button, you're scared to tell your testimony, you have survived. And I know that even surviving could be worse than not. But just know that you have a voice and that you deserve to be heard. Just state the facts, tell the truth, and God will always guide you. I just want the women and our future adults. I worry so much about our children. If you are parents, please wake up. Wake up. Trafficking is so close that it's once you've seen the dark side, you can't unsee it. And you drive by it, you walk past it every single day. Educate your kids, get them off their phones, teach them how to be vigilant, teach them what to look for, educate them, because they are our next generation. And in my situation, if I was only 1 out of 60 that had survived, you've got to listen. You've got to teach your kids what to watch for. And somebody needs to do something about safe places to go, safe people to talk to, because there's not enough, and that's why it keeps happening. And just educate your babies and all of those women that stand up and speak their truth. I'm so proud of you, and God has got you. He will go before you, and he will be beside you in all that you do. And just prayers for recovery and freedom.
Man. With that, if you want to stay on the line, we want to speak to you afterwards. But everybody watching, thank y'all. This is already our third victim that has come forward from Reflection Ministries. I'm telling you, we have many more, and we're going to keep dedicating our time in our live streams and videos to them and their stories. Christy, thank you. Ma'am, I thank you for coming
You're
on.
welcome.
God bless you. Everybody, have a blessed night. Check out the other videos we did with the other victims. And again, I'm not defending this monster. This woman right here, I'm not defending her or Elizabeth Walker. They both were arrested for kidnapping, and I pray to God they have more charges coming because they deserve it. This place needs to be investigated like many nonprofits in Midland. You're there to help victims, not make them a worser victim, for lack of better words. With that, y'all, God bless you. Thank you, Christy. Have a good night.
You're welcome.